Welcome to another special episode, where we meet Howie, a master of recycling solar panels. Howie shares his secrets to going off-grid and cutting energy bills for over 30 years. Discover how he repurposes solar panels and incorporates a forklift battery to generate ample power while reducing environmental impact. If you want to join the conversation and become part of the tribe community, visit theoffgridtribe.com. Get inspired to build your own sustainable solar system and save money. Join us for a short and insightful journey into Howie's world of recycled energy solutions.
This week we're visiting Howie, who's been living off-grid and passionate about off-grid living for 40 years. He is an expert in using recycled materials to make solar systems. He shows us his solar panels, forklift batteries, inverter, and shares a lot of his knowledge. So let's go and hear his story.
Ground mount systems for buildings that are in the shade and or poor aspect. The idea, this is just made out of recycled water pipe and clamps and a bit of welding.
Perfect.
And it sits out, this collects sun from first thing in the morning till late in the afternoon. It works really well. But anyway, there's 8 panels here, but basically these 4 of them are a series together, which effectively makes them one solar panel, which lifts runs the higher voltage. So these panels are probably 36 volts each. So when you join them together, it's 4 times 36 thereabouts. And same with that bank. They come in as 2 separate lots, and then it's shot underground across to the controller and the cabinet.
And you were saying these are recycled panels?
These are recycled panels. They're like new. And
and you were saying like when they were new, they would cost.
These were about $320 odd when they're new, and you can buy 250 watt panels anywhere these days, from even tip shops now, for around about $20 each.
So good.
It's amazing. But there is a very dirty side of the solar industry as well. That I've been in scrap metal yards in the city, and especially Brisbane, where you'll see piles of hundreds of these on pallets being crushed into skip bins just to extract the scrap aluminium, and the panels still have a lot of life in them. I've tested some of them, and I've just been blown away that they get a few dollars only scrap. But some of these are now being recycled. They're going into the Solomon Islands and such, and there's apparently some company sending them to South Africa now to have them recycled.
To be used as panels?
Yep. They get packed into 40-foot shipping containers and sent off, which is fantastic. But the other sort of tragic thing about the whole thing, when people replace their systems, like some of these systems are only a few years old. They should be on the roof for at least 30 years because they still work. But even with the railing, all the aluminium extrusion, the railing, that gets replaced when they put new panels up.
Yeah.
So I buy a lot of that at scrap value, and I'll show you what I've done with it on another system I've got.
Right.
Once again, another ground mount system. It's not permanent. I'm sort of just mucking around with this one because this is all recycled racking that comes off the roofs when panels are on conventional house. But I decided, with all the offcuts and bits and pieces, to experiment and build a ground mount frame. So 16 panels. They're just wired up. They're series parallel, so they're in blocks of 4 again. So the power's just goes through fuses, isolator switches, which is mounted under the panel, across to the orange box over there, which is a 48 volt, 775 amp hour forklift battery.
And what's the power that you get out of this?
Well, the battery storage is about 38 kilowatts, which is pretty serious. It weighs 1.2 tonne, if that helps. Summertime I run air conditioning. It runs a workshop, metalwork lathe, woodwork tools, all sorts of machinery, as well as the house, TV, lights, and induction cooktop. So I'm not using, I use very little LPG, and The induction cooktop just works beautifully off this. They were thrown out at the Byron tip.
They're huge. What were they used for?
They were brand new. Don't know. They're galvanised. They're 200 by 200 square posts, and my plan is to bolt them onto concrete pads, and then build a single poster or row of single posts ground mount frame. And a lot of these panels that you're looking at now will actually go on to that. These are all basically throw-out panels. The railing was all recycled. It's all had a previous life.
What's the chicken's name?
Doesn't
have one.
It must have been the end of 2019. We had a hailstorm come through Goonangarry, and it was the size of cricket balls. It just shredded everything. And interestingly, that all the neighbours around with their new solar panels, all their panels got smashed. Wow. And yet I had piles of panels just sitting on the ground here, flat as well, not on an angle, and not one solar panel was broken.
Because of its age?
I think the quality of the solar panels are getting cheaper and cheaper and cheaper all the time, and getting higher power, more power out of them as well. Yeah. So they're sort of pushing the boundary. So I guess to keep the price down, the quality's not there.
Yeah.
And it's just amazing that the amount of insurance jobs from shattered solar panels, where when I came home I knew we'd got smashed, and I came home and the first thing I looked at was my solar panel collection, and it's like, it survived. Look, in my opinion, with off-grid systems, which is the only thing I'm interested in, the battery is the key to the whole thing. They come in so many different types and sizes, and it's about selecting what size battery you need for your system. Batteries are expensive and they're vulnerable, and solar panels these days, recycled, they're dirt cheap.
So what you were saying, like, this is an old forklift battery?
Well, I was at the right place at the right time. This is a new one. It's never been in a forklift, but it is a a wet cell lead acid forklift battery.
So I loved what you were saying before about lead acid batteries, that you're championing them.
Oh, big time, because look, like here's one that's been on the building, I don't know, probably for 6 or 7 years. It's been absolutely hammered and it's finally given up the ghost, but it's probably only because they are, there's 12 cells there, there's 12 2-volt cells, and it could only be one cell that's actually failed. I haven't tested it for that yet, but that cell can be replaced.
Oh, really?
And give the battery another life. There's other things you can do to the battery to prolong their life as well, because in a forklift, these guys work really, really, really hard. Some of the forklifts are like over 6 tons, and they're lifting 6 tons, so they're pushing this massive amount of weight around warehouses. So when they come and set them up in a domestic application like this, they're not working. They're just idling. So even if the battery's 80% or less, it will still run a building very, very, very comfortably. But once again, you still have to be conscious of what you consume. I mean, if you haven't got much money and you want to just have a small system, you have to be really conscious of the weather. So I think, okay, we're in for 5 days of overcast, so switch things off. Don't use your vacuum cleaner, and maybe just save your washing, because some people want to wash every day, but it's not going to dry anyway, so don't use the power. Use your power when the sun comes out. Use all your heavy loads. This is for small systems. You do all your heavy loads first thing in the morning, so your battery has got all day to come up to fully charged, which is float. With a battery like this, to give the battery maximum longevity, you only want to discharge it to about 70%. And the thing about these batteries, to keep them alive, like any battery, as long as they're charged up that day or the next day, they're fine. But when you pull them right down, and you don't bring them back up again, shortens the life of the battery considerably. The good thing is with lithiums, like, I'm not in favour of lithiums because of the environmental footprint, especially with the mining of lithium. It's just a nightmare, and there's no way in the world this planet's got enough lithium to do everything that ultimately we will be requiring. So, battery technology is changing rapidly, and my opinion is that these guys are a band-aid method until you get 5-10 years out of them comfortably. Battery technology will change rapidly, and as it changes, hopefully the cost comes down, because batteries are expensive.
Where do you see it going in the future?
Who knows? I just know that there's a lot of stuff in development at the moment, and they're coming up with some amazing ideas. Even with the lead acid batteries now, they're actually, there's one company in India, they're mucking around with the chemistry of the battery with the lead plates. They're adding more nickel, I believe, to the lead, because it is like a composite material, and that's going to allow these forklift batteries to be discharged even lower without harming them. This is another system sitting here. It's got 8 250 watt panels on the roof, which keeps this forklift battery ticking over. It's only a 24 volt system, but that was the original system I had set up here for a long time. So I just kept it running as a backup. If something fails on the other system, I've still got power to burn, basically. I don't have to wait. No blackouts, I guess, effectively.
And you were talking about the difference between the when you the higher DC voltage you run, like some systems are 12 volt, 24 or 48, but the higher voltage you run, the more efficient the system becomes. So, for example, I'll just use this battery here. That if this was a 12 volt battery, if you'd be discharging it there, for example, but when you go to a 48 volt, a 24 volt battery, you're using half as much again, and when you go to 48, you're only just taking off the top of the battery. So the less you cycle the battery, or the less deep you cycle the battery, the longer the battery will last. Yep.
So it's kind of a no-brainer to run higher DC voltage. As I was saying earlier, the higher the voltage, the DC voltage, because this is hooked up to that 48 volt battery that we saw from the outside, 16 panels, all running through a single controller. So saying the more, the higher your DC voltage, the more panels you can actually put through a controller. So that can either run at 12 volts or up to 72 volts, but 48 volt batteries are reasonably accessible, so that's why I've stuck with that. And this is a 4 kilowatt Schneider inverter, and that's amazing what that will run. For me, I could never live on the grid again.
Yeah.
I have trouble stepping into people's houses in town that are connected to the grid, because I'm really conscious about our footprint, our carbon footprint every day. Every day we step up, from first thing in the morning from a cup of tea, we are actually burning coal or having some impact on the planet. As far as what I'd recommend, look, it's kind of like how long's a piece of string. Yeah. It depends on how many deep freezers you own or you want to power, and that can change by what you eat as well. If you want to grow your own food, your power needs are actually less, because you're not using as much refrigeration, because that was years ago. My first system when I came here in 1980 was an old recycled truck battery I got at the tip, and one solar panel, which is only a 42 watt panel, which I paid $420 for, which was a huge amount of money back in those days. And it's like I've got a nuclear power plant now for nothing compared to what it was back then. Everything gets recycled here. I might buy a bag of nails, but that's about it, sort of thing. Yeah. Apart from that, every piece of timber, all the metal, everything here, all the roofing iron, all the building materials, everything is bought here and restored from scratch.
How did you learn to go off grid? Was it listening to other people? Was it doing research? Was it observing? Was it trial and error?
All of the above.
All right.
Desperation. Look, I did use when I first came here, I had very idealistic ideas, and I thought, well, I'm a carpenter, I've done a lot of carpentry. I didn't even use power tools back then because I didn't want to run a generator, so I did things with hand planes and braces and bits, and building a building with a handsaw. It was ridiculous. It just took forever to do. But I ran a generator, then I hated starting a generator up just to do one saw cut. So as I've been waiting a very, very long time for technology to change because it was changing rapidly. And I thought, I'm just going to wait. It's going to get cheaper. But I thought, I'm going to be an old man before I actually do anything the way I'm going with this attitude. So I sort of bit the bullet and got a decent battery bank, got some panels, and did the initial upgrade, which allowed me to run some power tools. And then the price of panels, come down to practically nothing, nearly giving them away now. And when that happened, it just meant that, hey, an old forklift battery, this, that, and just go and buy a decent inverter, and I can run drop saws, I can run electric planes, I can run any woodwork machinery that I like, can be run straight off the solar, dead easy now.
Isn't it?
Yeah. And this is what I'm trying to get across to people, that it's not impossible anymore. Whereas before it was just monetary-wise, it was out of the question.
Yeah.
But for somebody who wants to set up a very reliable system, you can do that for probably less than $5,000 now.
And any last things that you wanted to?
Oh, do it.
Just
do it. It is doable.
Thank you for joining. We appreciate your time and attention. We hope you found this content inspiring and informative. Make sure to subscribe to stay updated with the latest captivating contents. We invite you to join the conversation, share your thoughts, and actively engage with our community. Visit theoffgridtribe.com. Together, let's embrace the power of sustainable living and work towards creating a greener, more harmonious future for our planet. Don't forget to like, comment, and share this content with others who are passionate about sustainable living. Thank you for your support, and we look forward to embarking on this incredible journey with you.